How are you? Thank you so much for being here in Mexico virtually.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Um, I have a question. Why did you decide to use health as a main topic to title your new album?
It's just something that's been I've been pretty focused on for a while now, and I just feel like it's connected to the music and my ability to make music, and it's kind of like my the things that inspire me. You can't really do them unless you're healthy. So I think for me that's just become a really important thing.
Yeah. And how was working with Cautious Clay? I think his voice did a perfect match with your composition. How was working with him?
It was great. He's awesome. Like I've always been a huge fan. So was just looking for an opportunity to be able to work with him, and luckily it came along with the song. And yeah, it was awesome. The texture and the timbre of his voice is just really unique.
Yeah, and I like the way you decide to close Infinite Health because Epilogue it's a track that begins with a breath and ends with a deep breath too. What was the reason of that composition of that song?
I think I was just recording the acoustic guitar part, and I kind of like I wrote that song like right at that was the last thing that I did on the album as the mixing process was finishing up. I was just so tired of working on the mixes and all the like detail stuff that I just like sometimes I'd sit down to write something just to kind of like clear my head and do something fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like so burnt out and and just like it was kind of the end of the line, and I was just like completely ready for the project to be over. So like that felt kind of like the last like I don't know, that was just like the final thing. So I kind of let out a sigh, and that was on the recording, and I thought it was kind of cool, so I just left it in there.
It sounds cool. It really sounds cool, and it's a nice closure. And like on November last year, people start talking of your upcoming release on Reddit, and somebody said this album has taken some time. And then you gave a reply. You wrote a long reply saying that you were tinkering matters and you were finding a normal schedule and a routine, and that's why it takes so long. And you had two kids, and I really I thought that it was a honest reply. So, what can you tell us about that reply? And why did you decide to go personally to reply that comment on Reddit?
Oh well, that Reddit forum, that subreddit Tycho has they've just always been like so supportive, and it's just like a really cool group of people, and I've met a bunch of them in real life. So like, I just always like I browse Reddit now and then anyway. So if I come across that an interesting question, I'll try my best to like give them a personal reply. But yeah, that I mean the album. I think mainly it was just we started touring seriously in like 2010
Yeah.
for Dive, and then we really didn't stop till 2020. Like right at the end of 2019, early 2020, and that was just like 10 years of just nonstop, like I'll make an album, go on tour, do all this stuff. And like, that it was great. And it was really, really fun and exciting and fulfilling, but it doesn't give you time to sort of step back and like kind of reflect or just kind of take stock of like where you're at and where you want to go. So like, I think, for me, COVID and just like we had to stop touring, and that I just saw that as an opportunity to kind of have this moment of pause and just really step back and take my time and enjoy the process again, and then also start a family and just do all these things that I've been wanting to do that you think you have all this time, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and it's like, man, it's like that if I
Yeah.
don't get these things, if I don't do these things this way right now, like I might never have an opportunity again. So like that's what this was for me, and it was like really. I haven't enjoyed making an album as much as I enjoyed making this one in a long time, just because there wasn't any pressure or time constraints. I could just take my time and enjoy it.
Yeah, and it was really good, and I could see something reflected on a single that you released before release this album, "Time to Run," because I love the video. Like a guy running to nowhere with a rush move. And what was the story that you were trying to tell with that song and with that video?
Yeah, Time to Run's awesome. That song actually was we really wrestled back and forth with whether it should be on the album.
Yeah.
And in the end, we decided to leave it off the album just because I felt like and Phantom and Time, Infinite Health and Time to Run, they kind of have a lot of similarities. So like, I didn't want too much of that specific sound, but like, we're on tour right now and we've been playing Time to Run. I'm like, oh man, I love this song. So it's like, I'm kind of like sad it's not on the album. So I think we'll put it on like the deluxe version or something. But yeah, but to the point of the video, I ran, from a really young age, I ran competitively all the way up through college. So like my whole youth from like 8 years old on was like pretty much focused on track and cross country. And like, that was where I think I first found a connection to nature, being out in nature and like pushing your body past its limits and kind of that euphoria. And there's like there's kind of a high or like a sort of psychedelic out of body experience that can be connected to that. And I think that taught me like, being, I don't know, there's like a more pure state of being human, maybe when you're like pushing yourself and you're in nature, you're like kind of connected to the experience. So like that always stuck with me. And also like, and you're running, and you're so tired and like you just want to quit, but like you have to keep going. And like there's this kind of meditative thing you have to do in your head. And I used to always play these loops of music. So like, either a song I'd heard or just like repeating just some phrase over and over again, because I wasn't a musician, but like I just get these things in my head, these pieces of music, and I always would just play them looping in forever when I was running. So like I basically wanted that song to speak to that experience, and like so the idea for the video was to sort of like recreate the environment that these cross country races would be in, but try to like kind of tell a story with it.
Yeah, and yesterday I was running on the park and I was listening to that song, and then I thought that question, and I would like to ask you, what is the correlation between the names of your songs and what you're trying to say? Because there are no lyrics on most of your songs. You say many things with only sounds, and I think also your songs names got a deep titles, like drift, like stress, like weather, like continuum. I mean, how you match the title of the each song and the sounds that you create for that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those names. Well, I mean, I don't know about a lot, but like some of them, I literally, you have to think of a name to save the file when you first make the song.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just, whatever pops into my head, like what I always feel like maybe that's probably the most inspired or the most like connected, because you just wrote the song, so you're in the same headspace, and like you've been working with this sort of this kind of like visual space for that whole time, whatever visual space that's painting, and so you try to put it into words, and yeah, a lot of those like Adrift will just stick. Like Awake was like actually, it used to be called Forma, which like really doesn't mean anything, but that was like the original name. And then I changed it to A Wake, like the wake behind a boat, or the wake on like on a wakeboard. And then I stuck it together and made it Awake. So that kind of evolved over time. It just depends. But I mean, yeah, the idea is to give it some connection to meaning, but like not be too specific, so that people are free to kind of interpret it the way that they want. But but still have some sort of evocative title that gives you some imagery.
Yeah, on my favorite disc for you is Simulcast, because it lasts 34 minutes, and that album, it's like saying a sound history from the beginning to the end, and songs like Weather and Stress are my favorite. So what was the reason of that album?
Simulcast was, so yeah, like after Epoch was over, we toured a little bit, and I decided like, I made those 3 albums in a row, Dive, Awaken, Epoch. Those are sort of like a trilogy, or it's supposed to be kind of considered as like a wider body of work. So I wanted to do something really different, and I thought vocals were like kind of the obvious thing. I'd always wanted to work with vocals. I tried making a vocal album with Passes Prologue. That was originally a vocal album, and I just didn't really think I had the vision for it yet, or maybe just like I didn't have the skills to accomplish it. So I kind of bailed out on that. But yeah, so I went to make Weather. But like I love instrumental music, and all those songs started as instrumentals before. I kind of had vocals in mind, but like they were instrumental songs. So I wanted to get the instrumental versions out, but like expand on them and make them kind of a little bit more, something that you would expect from a Tycho song. Like they go on all these other directions, because with Weather, I wanted to keep the songs really tight and like kind of like pop song structure. So with that, I just basically wanted to make kind of like a companion album that was all instrumental, and that was the reasoning behind Simulcast.
Cool. And my last question will be on 2022. You released the Misk All by Tycho, All Back to Tycho, and I really love the selections that the songs that you select to put on that album. You know, like Destroyer from Panama,
Oh
First
yeah,
Sight
that's a
by
good one.
Schneider, Last Sunset with Luis Lancaster. And I think it's a very versatile DJ mix because you can listen in the midnight at 4 a.m. or in the morning or any time, you know. Why did you decide to select these songs and why did you decide to release that album?
Yeah, the Back to Mine. I mean, we had been talking for a while, and I think just I'd always wanted to do something like that. I found there's some like I feel like I found Ulrich Schnaus way back in the day through like a similar compilation.
Yeah.
And just like I just remembered when I was really first getting into electronic music, like in the late '90s or mid '90s.
Okay.
Like compilations were like my thing because like I didn't know enough about it to go like find specific artists, or like I always thought, like when you had to buy a CD, it was like a gamble, like that was like it was like
And
14
huge
bucks, which was like
computers, yeah.
a huge. I mean, when you're young and in the '90s, that was a lot of money, so like you didn't want to gamble on like one artist's album. But like I'd always get like compilations because I'm like, okay, well, these are probably some of the better tracks by these artists.
Okay.
And anyway, so those just like I think they came out with like Late Night Tales later. I think the one that I always liked was Blue Skied and Clear. It was like a compilation by More Music of geez, I can't believe I'm not remembering the name of this band. Everybody always compares us to them.
Okay. And is there a possibility that you make a featuring with Panama? I mean, I love Panama too, and it's incredible Australian artist.
Oh yeah, I mean that'd be cool. We don't have any plans right now, but yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, Hanson, thank you so much for your music. I know tonight you have a concert, and thank you so much for giving us a time. And I really appreciate your music because right now we are living a chaotic moments in the world, and the music that you are offering, it's like a peaceful music, like a healing music. And thank you so much for your music.
Oh, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.